Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction and entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And we return to you this week with an episode that is divisible by 4. Yes, the math takes a while, but it is divisible by 4, so that means it is time to do the news. And I'm going to give a programming note before we jump into the question of the week and comments, reminders, and all the other stuff. But with this one, we're actually doing the big stories. There's 2 big stories. One is really depressing. It's going on first. And one is neutral-ish right now. We don't know the outcome of this one. But it's a big one. And we're going to do it at the end because we want to be sure we can give these 2 stories time. Yeah. And that way we can hurry our ass through the middle a little bit and get this podcast to you in a timely and orderly fashion.
As much as we ever do.
Yeah, as much as we ever do. That's not saying much, I admit. All right. Well, on that note, every week we do ask a question of the week, and last week's question was, what is your favorite haunt backstory? R&P Farm said they like their backstory. I guess sensing a little personal bias there. However, I went on their site and I could not check it out.
No. Sam Farrell and Isaac Schwalier said Hell's Gate.
And I will vouch Hell's Gate is a great one. It's very meta. I would, my biggest criticism I would have of it, like for this very short moment, is that they don't really bring it into the haunt much.
I don't know that I agree with you.
Okay. Maybe I'm misinterpreting what's in the haunt.
Yeah, or maybe you're thinking of a different story.
Maybe. But regardless, Hell's Gate definitely has a great story. However, Isaac also noted his haunt, Abandoned Acres Farms. Now, I actually read the full story on their website. They have the whole thing, and I do mean the whole thing on there.
Good.
It's entitled Blood on the Corn, and definitely encourage you to check it out. However, I think I want to do an episode where we look at actual haunted attraction stories. And talk about good, bad, what you can do, what you can't do. And obviously we'll be looking at solely what is available from their web presence and marketing material.
Yeah.
But I think that could be a fun future episode. We made the AI do our homework. Let's see what the humans have turned in.
Okay.
Is that fair?
That sounds
We graded
fair.
the AI's work. Let's see how the humans turn in.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually put a pin in this one because, hey, if you're bold enough to put your own story in this, it's going to get a looking.
Yeah.
And finally.
All right. And finally, Victor Ruelas said Vault of Souls.
Yes. That's Scott Swenson's thing in Florida.
Yeah.
Part haunted attraction, part interactive theater experience.
It's a haunted house experience.
It's very different, is what it is, and it does. And Victor's right; it does have a great story, and they definitely, because of the interactive and the nature of the experience, it definitely comes in through every moment of the haunt.
Yeah,
I mean, everything about it is aimed to telling that story, which I love. All right, this week's question of the week. What is one change you would make to the haunt industry? If you could poof and make one thing change, what is it? Yes, we've asked this before, but a long time has passed. And I've got some thoughts here. So I want to see what other people have to say too. So let us know. HauntWeekly.com, HauntWeekly on Twitter, HauntWeekly on Facebook, and YouTube.com/HauntWeekly. What one change would you make in the haunted attraction industry?
and since you already have your thoughts together on it, I'm going to jump ahead of you and say I would make it more inclusive. If I could poof, I would make it more inclusive. There. Done.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
And your answer?
Was actually something very much along the lines, because as we're going to get into in a minute, we are not inclusive in ways we should be.
Yeah.
And we seem to be inclusive in ways we really don't want to be. And I think we've got to find this balance. I mean, to me, I think part of it is we've got to make it the safe space for the weirdos again. Because I'm not saying it isn't, but especially when you do these news episodes every 4.
Yeah, well, we just need it to be a safe space for everybody, period.
Yeah, everybody with this weird hobby.
And not a safe space for, like, people who would do damage to other people.
Yeah, you'll understand why we're kind of like on this in a minute. But yeah, let us know at all the aforementioned places. All right. It is also an even numbered. It is also an even numbered episode. Therefore, we also do conference reminders, and Crystal's going to kick us off for the upcoming conferences.
Okay, June 8th, it's Midwest Haunters Convention. Through June 11th, sorry about that, at Rosemont, Illinois, at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center. And 2023 info is still coming, although we haven't updated
that. Yeah.
So if we're missing something, it may be on next week. Or 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks, the next even episode.
We did update it
Christ, I'll get it out at some point.
We did update it some, but we didn't go back and add that.
Yeah.
So sorry, Midwest Haunters Convention. And actually, they've been making a lot of the announcements this week, actually. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's actually been coming out. I've been seeing it on social media. I just haven't put it in the notes.
But you would know that if you were following them along at MidwestHauntersConvention.com.
Great job. Then after that, it's Michigan Haunt Fest, June 23 through the 25th in Munith, Michigan. It's at the Oaks Campground. Demos, making takes. Remember, Saturday, there's an adult $2 entry fee from the park, the campgrounds. Learn more at michiganhauntfest.weebly.com.
All right, July 15th through 16th. It's Texas Haunters Convention in Mesquite, Texas, at the Mesquite Convention Center, featuring a trade show floor, costume ball, and door prizes, costumes, gaming, all sorts of things. TexasHauntersConvention.com for more info.
All right. And then July 21st through the 23rd in Garden City, Idaho, it's Horrorween Con, Idaho. Get you some potatoes. I don't know, scary potatoes.
They have eyes.
Yes, they do. Much like the hills. At the North Expo Hall at Expo, Idaho, featuring classes targeted both at home haunters and professional haunters. It's also have costuming, makeup, and other useful classes for you. More information at idahohorror.com. So, yes. As we mentioned before, first things first, the work we did on our haunt. Well, I always want to skip that because it's usually such a short section in those.
And it's not
that we didn't do work this time.
No, we did yard work and housework.
Yeah, we're getting the actor area and all the outdoor stuff back in shape. That's unfortunately a very necessary part because it's our workspace.
Yes. And if you know of anything that kills the most, that should have been the question of the week. What kills the most stubborn vines out there? Because we have this thing that's growing all over our yard and we can't get rid of it. And we've tried, and the roots are on the other side.
Well, the fence, not on our property. Yeah.
Not on our property. And
so I can't just go over there and dig it the fuck up or something.
No, we've been trying for years,
decades,
to kill this thing. We've tried every...
And the thing is, like with some chemicals and some of our attacks, we've been able to push it way back.
Yeah.
But we have not been able to, A, get it out of our yard, not push it back all the way. And B, we have not been able to kill or even significantly harm it.
No, like it just comes back so fast. It grows really fast.
And it grows in weird spurts. Like it'll go months without doing anything.
Yeah.
And then you'll look up one day and find out that your entire backyard's overrun.
Yeah, if we can get rid of some of it, our next idea is to put down weed blocker and like block the sun out of it. Because on areas where something has been on the ground for a long time, it doesn't grow.
Yeah.
It'll grow over the top of it.
That's been our odd focus this week. Getting that and our house in order. Very successful. We should be beginning actual haunt work soon.
Yes.
And we are excited. We've already done the design work. We've got not insignificant amounts to build, but it's going to be a good build. I think it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it will.
All right, so it is an episode of Valley by 4, so it is time to do the news. And we have an incredibly important and incredibly frustrating and incredibly sad story to start off.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll just kick it off.
Okay.
Basically, this is an article by Ryan Graffis at WJAC. In Clear County, Pennsylvania, a rural area haunted attraction known as Max's Revenge Haunted Attraction. One of the owners and operators of it, Kip Colsar Jr., age 26, was arrested and is alleged to have sexually assaulted a 14-year-old victim at multiple locations, including the haunt itself, while the haunt was doing stuff, being haunt stuff.
Yeah, Why do we have so many of these stories? Like, seriously, haunt industry, look at yourself. Why?
Yeah, this story really, as far as like this podcast, is very frustrating because on one hand, it's very important. We need to talk about it. We need to discuss it. We need to give it the time and attention it deserves because it deserves
Yeah.
some weight and levity and some time. But it's also so common and has happened so many times. My first thought is, look, just go back to the Maddie Monster episode we had.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
I mean, is it because this is an industry that allows adults to be around teenagers? I mean, is there just more exposure as an industry on the whole? Is that why we're seeing what seems to be so many
These types
more
of stories. I
stories?
don't know. Yeah, I really, really and truly do not know why we seem to have so many cases. And the Maddie Monster episode, by the way, was episode 343, Sexual Assault and Haunting,
Yeah.
done way back in June of 2022.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, because I mean, like, we shouldn't be hiring kids anyway.
But I also understand that at a lot of these rural haunts, and this one seems to be a particularly rural haunt.
Rural and charity haunts often use kids.
Yeah, they often use kids, and and some of it's simply because those are the people who are free to volunteer their time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, kids go to school and such, but it's not. Adults are much more difficult in order to schedule things with, especially for like a month long.
Yeah.
And I get that, but I personally do agree that we should not be hiring kids. But
Yeah.
I also know this is a fact of life for many rural haunts.
It is, and this is another owner,
Yeah.
so it's not like they
background. We can say background check your employees.
Yeah.
The one thing I think we can say, and this was something that came up in the Maddie Monster one, episode 343 again.
Yeah.
When she was talking about her experience working with the Bloodshed Brothers, and basically, one of the things she said that really stuck with me was that nobody knew really what was going on, like the full story. Nobody had the full picture. But there were a lot of people who saw them make inappropriate jokes around teens.
Yeah.
Who saw them give teens alcohol and cigarettes and other controlled substances.
Right.
There were people that saw those things.
They knew something inappropriate was going on and they didn't say anything.
Yeah. And on one hand, I can't blame them. By themselves, those might seem like and feel like it might even be fairly minor. But that's also part of the grooming process. And that's how, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's why, okay, look, I get it. Giving alcohol to someone who's a few days under 21 or whatever ain't the biggest crime in the world. I'm the only person in civilized society that had his first alcoholic beverage on his 21st birthday.
No.
I recognize that. But if you see those things, especially from an owner or manager to employee, and in addition to those employees being underage, you need to tell someone, you need to confront them, you need to do something, because you might only be seeing a tiny piece of a much bigger, much darker picture.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to find a lot of that happened here too. And I know I don't want to put blame on those people because they obviously are sitting there probably as shocked as anyone else. But that's why you tell on these things. That's why you speak out on these things.
Yeah. Because
it is inappropriate, and it's often hiding or leading to exactly this type of behavior. So yeah, according to the police the reports, by the way, all these obviously are allegations, innocent until proven guilty, so on and so forth, allegedly forced the victim to perform sexual acts while working at the haunt. He is currently being held at the Clearfield County Prison. His bail was denied. Why do we keep having this problem? I mean, I think some of it may be exactly what you said, that this is an industry that
it's an access.
It's much like, becoming a teacher or becoming a priest or becoming any other trusted official. And yeah, I know I'm picking on pedophile priest on accident, but I was just thinking, who are these trusted adults that have unlimited, unfettered, unguarded, unchecked access to kids?
Yeah.
I was just thinking like that.
Yeah.
But Yeah, is it that? Maybe. I think that could be part of it. Or, you know, did he like launch this haunt or join this haunt or come onto it with the intent of doing it, or was it just something that, happened? I don't know. But the best thing, like I said, from that episode of Maddie Monster, and by the way, Maddie, if you're listening to this, thank you again for that.
Yeah.
It is not your responsibility to educate or to do anything. I could have, everyone would have fully understood if after your experience you said, screw haunting, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm never even looking at a haunted attraction again.
Mm-hmm.
No one would have blamed you. Um, and the fact that you continue to try to help us be a better industry,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very amazed at that.
Yeah.
But the great thing that came from that episode, like I said, was the thing about saying something, even if it's not overtly sexual at the moment.
Yeah. And, and that's anything that you see.
Yeah.
Like with the alcohol, like we live in New Orleans.
Yeah.
It is not illegal for parents to give their kids alcohol. Not other people's
Yeah.
kids, but their own. It's not illegal. And so if you see that, make sure the parents know even.
Yeah.
Like, talk to the parents. Hey, do you know that this is going on when you're not here? Like, don't make it a secret little club, because secrets cause problems. And I think that if you have that, I don't know. There's gotta
Maybe
be a
I should
way
go
to
back.
ask.
Maybe I should go back and revise my answer to the question of the week
Hmm.
to say I would make us a fully transparent industry.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to bet a lot of the aforementioned problems, like including the diversity and the problems we're talking about now,
Hmm.
would either be eliminated or severely mitigated
Yeah.
through real transparency.
Yeah.
But we're very much not a transparent industry, and that's very much by design.
Yeah.
We never wanted to be. I mean, it took us until like recent years just to talk about how to build props with other haunters.
Yeah.
We're not, we've never been on the cutting edge of transparency in business.
No.
We've always been bringing up the rear pretty hard. So yeah, it's such a frustrating story. We're going to be following it obviously to see what happens, but the problem is when the story comes up in my newsfeed next, I know the first thing I'm going to think. It's going to say haunted attraction owner, sentenced to or released or whatever happened, whatever the next phase is. It's going to say haunted attraction owner, blah, blah, blah. And my first thought is, which one? We have so many.
Yeah.
Right?
I know.
I'm going to have to read the whole fucking article to figure out which case we're talking about now. And that's so sad and so frustrating that it is true.
Mm-hmm.
So, happier stuff now?
Yeah.
Ken has happy story, please.
All right. So, every Alton Towers ride reviewed. This is just a review.
Well, and okay.
And it's talking about some new stuff. But this is by Tom Vigor and Steve Wollaston at cheshire-live.co.uk.
Yeah, it's a UK, by the way. This is a UK theme park. It's basically what we're getting at.
Yeah. But, so basically they reviewed the newest rides at Alton Towers, The Curse of Alton Manor. And could be, quote unquote,
according to the
quote unquote, the best dark ride in the UK.
Which raises questions about
how many do they have? Are they the only one? Because they are the best.
How stiff is the con? They're also the worst, though.
I know, right?
They want all the superlatives.
It's like,
yay.
It's like my cousin. I kept telling him to apply to colleges, saying he was second in his class, because it was true, but there was only one other person. Really small school.
Really small school.
Yeah.
Smaller than you're thinking.
Yeah.
Basically, it was a homeschool where other kids came by at this point.
Yes, and there was a paid teacher.
There was a single paid teacher.
But
imagine not exaggerating.
Yeah. But it tells the story of Emily Alton, a child whose parents preferred partying to parenting.
That's the exact quote from the article, by the way. That was a great article.
Yeah.
A great quote. I like that one.
Yeah. And the parents disappeared, and so now she's haunting the manor?
The article did not make that clear.
Like,
I
is she
was,
looking for her parents and they've just gone?
yeah, and it's not clear that the parents died. It just said in the article, once again, I didn't actually go to their site. Maybe I should review their backstory.
Yeah.
But But basically, it's like the parents disappeared. No indication if that means they died and got bricked up in the walls or some shit, or if they just decided to go follow the fucking Grateful Dead on tour. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so the article suggests writing it 3 times to fully appreciate everything
Yes.
and gave it 5 stars of fun factor and 4 for fear.
Which, I mean, that's interesting that the haunted attraction has a lower fear factor score than fun, but okay, it's fine.
Well, it sounds entertaining at the very least, assuming that it's 5 stars and not 10.
And I gotta say that the suggestion of writing it 3 times, and that tells me that there is definitely a lot of attention to detail in this.
Yeah.
Because that has always been my frustration with dark rides a lot. Well, most dark rides I've been on is they're not very detailed.
Mm-hmm.
And then part of it's because the dark rides I've been on have been those roaming carnival dark rides that got taken down, put back up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you put too much detail on those, I think it would start to break with all the moving. Like, it would wear and tear super fast.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. So yeah, they've definitely apparently ramped up the detail on this, and I'm very interested. I looked at the photographs in the article. It looks pretty cool. Though I never judge by photographs of haunts because haunts look way different in photographs than they do in person with your own naked eyes. So, and we've been over how difficult haunt photography is for that exact reason. All right. Another story that makes me lots a bit sad. Alice Asylum proposal rejected by EA. American McGee ends the project. This is an article by Mike Wilson at Bloody Discussing. Basically, American McGee had been pushing for a while, including launching a Patreon, to make a third Alice game. It was going to be Alice Asylum, which, I mean, I immediately jumped to Arkham Asylum because I'm a Batman game. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But EA has rejected that and basically said that they do not think the IP is valuable enough to it to do this. And it's sad to us because we have an Alice poster in our foyer.
I love Alice, like the games. The first one was buggy. Like, they didn't like finish the graphics and things, but it was still fun.
Yeah, there was a very diamond in the rough situation.
Yeah, and it was an immersive. You could tell that they wanted to build an immersive experience.
It reminded me a lot of a more bloody, more violent Psychonauts. And that it was this very weird, trippy world. I mean, it's Alice in Wonderland. It's basically shorthand for weird, trippy world.
Yeah.
But they did a great job with it. But the first one was rough between the bugs and some control issues and the fact that I couldn't tell if I was even hitting with any of the weapons in that game. But the atmosphere, the ambiance, and a lot of the puzzles and challenges kept it interesting. And we both finished it, basically.
Yeah, and the second one I got, I don't think you played the second one.
I did.
Okay. But yeah, the second one was just beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous.
And they did better on the bugs with it. We still had some issues running it initially on our computers.
Yeah, and there was still, my main memory of, because this came out a while ago.
Yeah.
My main memory of a complaint was that they had one particular enemy that was just all over the game, and there could have been some variation there.
Yeah, I mean, these games have always been very putting the art ahead of the game part.
Yeah.
And, that has a right to exist in
and the
game.
story.
And the story, too.
There's a lot of story in it, too. And this one, part of it's in a mental asylum. Like, it was really good. Like, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I'm really sad that we don't have it. Not only do we have the poster, but we also have the Alice figurine and the Cheshire Cat figurine.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have loved this series. And to make it even more sad, it's not only that we're not getting new Alice. American McGee has said he's leaving game development totally.
Exactly.
So there will be no more American McGee games. And
I should really check to see if it's a graphic novel series.
Yeah.
because I think that it would translate really well into
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, it's always been very pretty, very artistic.
Hmm.
We love the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't the best games to play at
Hmm.
every point,
Yeah.
still sad not to see a third.
Yeah. All right. So our next article is from James Bartlett at LA Mag. The Museum of Death has resurrected itself in Hollywood. The Museum of Death actually started in Hollywood
Yes, in
originally.
2008.
Yeah, in 2008. And they closed its doors so that they could build the New Orleans location.
That and the pandemic didn't help them, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. But we did go to the New Orleans
Yeah,
location.
we actually did a review of it on Hot Weekly, I believe. So,
Yeah, it was part of that whole day was weird.
yeah.
And it really changed our minds about this kind of attraction.
Well, I think they didn't handle it very well. I think was a big part of it.
Exactly.
Compare that experience to the Death House in Budapest.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Very different experiences.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead though. Please
But
continue.
anyway, so they've gone back and it's operated by a husband and wife team, JD Seeley and Shathe Schultz.
I think that's supposed to be Kathy Schultz, but
Kathy
I can't.
Schultz.
I don't know. But anyways,
I don't know. It contains a variety of curiosities and death-related memorabilia.
and it looks like the one in LA is less serial killer focused than the one here.
Yeah.
Because the one here, it really felt like it was a glorification of serial killers more than an actual death museum.
Right. And I remember whenever it first opened, it would cause so much controversy. The one in LA, whenever it first became a thing.
I mean, people in New Orleans were like,
yeah, because it was, a lot of people said exactly that it was glorifying serial killers and murdering people. And
I mean, I'm a definite supporter of death positivity.
Yeah.
I love Caitlin Doty to death.
Yeah. Don't do that.
That's a good point. We want her alive. But so no, I definitely think there's a lot of room here, like the Muter Museum.
Yeah.
The Muter Museum was done in better taste.
Yeah.
And that had a lot of untasteful things in it.
Yeah, including, I love the fact that they tied, pieces of people's bodies with stories from like fairy tales.
Yeah.
Like they had Cinderella was one of them, where they showed how women would bind their feet to make them smaller and what it looked like after.
Yeah. But I mean, and that's the thing. It's like they did this museum with the intent to educate and inform.
Exactly. It was very educational and very fun.
The fact is the Muter Museum may be the draw what gets you in there, but it's not what you walk away with.
No.
And I really love that experience. It's one of my favorite museum experiences I've ever had.
Yes,
Bar none.
Oh yeah. I always think twice before I put that nail in my mouth to hold it, or the screw,
or the pen cap, or
anything.
Yeah, it doesn't stop me from doing it.
Oh no, it doesn't stop me. I just I should be really careful right now.
They have this giant cabinet filled with shit people choked on.
Yeah,
this one doctor
swallowed,
yeah, and it's very entertaining, but also very. Maybe I shouldn't put pen caps in my mouth like I constantly do out of habit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, the reopening. They've got some new items. I would suggest if you're interested, if you're in the area and interested, I would suggest checking out the article. We're not going into details of what's new, but yeah. Next up, an article I think I understood like 4 words from.
That makes sense.
Because this article is by Scotty D at Fago Lovers, LUVERS.net. City Maury Alien Haunt in the Mist Juggalette pageant announced for the Gathering of the Juggalos. Basically, the annual gathering of the Juggalos will be held July 5th through the 9th in Thornville, Ohio. And it'll feature the usual trappings, half of which we just went over in the headline. But for us in the haunted attraction industry, the item of interest is the Alien Encounter Sci-Fi Haunt. It's called Alien Encounter, a sci-fi haunt.
Because you didn't know that Alien Encounters was a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I see, that's just it. I follow the Yahtzee Croshaw rule here. The only time you get to do a colon like that is when you have, when what's before it is some kind of series. You know what I mean? Or some kind of,
Mm-hmm.
some kind of trilogy or whatever that goes together. In fact, I know last year's haunt wasn't named Alien Encounter because it was named the House of Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
And the same team that did the House of Horrors is doing the Alien Encounter one. And the Alien Encounter one fits in well with the theme for the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's the year, Gathering the Juggalos 2023, and the subtitle to that. See, that's a good example. Colon subtitle. There, that one makes sense. But no, the actual title of it is Clowns from Outer Space. So they're doing a sci-fi theme on everything, it seems, on the Gathering of the Juggalos.
Why didn't they just do the clowns from...
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yes!
You know, I'll be
Because
honest.
that's actually, like, bright and colorful and fun and seems much more Juggalo-friendly.
I
from
mean,
what
no
I know.
disrespect to the Juggalo community.
No.
It's actually one of the few rabid fandoms I actually have respect for because they do actually try to use their rabid fandom for a lot of good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get the music, I don't get the band, I really don't get the love of Fago.
Mm-hmm.
Tried it once, not impressed. But hey, you know, like I said, the fandom overall has been I think a force for relatively positive change, and I would 100% show up dressed as one of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. They sell the masks,
Yeah.
so wouldn't have to worry about doing the makeup or anything. Just buy the mask
Yeah.
and show up in that. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. And if no one does it at the Gathering Juggalos, I'm very disappointed in you, group.
I think it would be hilarious to go as a giant cotton candy. because from what I've heard, there are illegal substances consumed at this, and I think a giant cotton candy walking around would be epic in one or two ways.
And it's also related to the movie for those who have not
Yes.
actually seen the film and wonder what the fuck we're on about.
Yes, exactly.
It's directly connected to the movie. I'll just say that. That would be funny. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I have a lot of respect for the Juggalo community, but yeah, and also I do not understand your speak. I'm
No.
sorry.
Oh.
It is very confusing. But anyways, moving on.
All right. Benhurst School for the, quote, feeble-minded is now a tourist stop in Spring City. And this is from Holly Herman at Patch, and this is in Spring City, Pennsylvania. So it's going to be the haunted house part of it is going to be open during the regular Halloween season. But there's a 3-hour walking tour of the asylum, which is historical and educational in nature.
Yeah, they pulled the reverse Eastern State Pen.
Yeah.
Because Eastern State Pen opened as a museum and a historical site,
Mm-hmm.
and then added the haunt as a fundraiser.
Yeah.
They opened it, at least in the administration building, as a haunted attraction. They did that in 2010, and it became a museum in 2017.
Yeah.
So that's the reverse Pen. That's the reverse. Damn it.
Yes. The reverse.
It's
But
Eastern State Pen.
yeah.
They both have Penn in the name, and Penhurst Penn is in the beginning, and East State Penn is at the end. Is that why it's a reverse State Penn?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Dun dun dun.
The asylum was open until 1987.
Which
As
frightens the piss out of me.
Yeah, like I was alive. I
We
can
have
remember.
memories. Yeah.
Yes,
We have
I can-
memories from that year.
Yes. But yeah, apparently it was a interesting time and place.
Yeah, apparently I mean, I did not know much about it before this article, and I still don't feel like I know much, but at least I know more.
Mhm.
The basic thing, this was a very rural asylum,
Mhm.
and they basically encouraged people to send all varieties of people needing care. Like this included disabled children, the mentally ill.
Yeah.
And this place was chronically understaffed and chronically at 3 times its fucking capacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it sounds like a pretty fucking horrible place to me,
Yeah.
to put it mildly.
I have not heard of an asylum that was not a horrible place.
You know,
Especially from this time period.
but you know, the
Number
thing is,
4.
the system needed fixing, and instead
Yeah.
we got rid of it.
And now it's like, yeah.
Now it's everyone's problem.
Now a lot of people who need medical attention and mental health care end up in prison instead of getting the care they need.
Yeah, and it's basically impossible to get the help you need in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the actual news part of the story
Yeah.
is that they are hosting the Paracon and Oddities Expo, May 19th to 21st. Not really directly haunted attraction related, even though it's at a haunted attraction,
Yeah.
because this is really focused on the historical side of Penhurst, but it does mix in some of the paranormal, ghost hunty type
Yeah.
things with it too. So,
I would go if I were there.
I would definitely at least swing by the con if I was anywhere nearby. It does sound interesting, but yeah. So it was neat to read more about Penhurst,
Yeah.
and it was also cool to learn that they are doing more on the museum side now. I did not know this, and it sounds like they're making a real push in this area. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, that takes us to our next story in Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. Fear Factory makes a quote-unquote killer donation. This is an article by ABC4. What Fear Factory did, for the record, is I think very, very kind of them, a very good thing. They paid off outstanding lunch balances for children at 2 local elementary schools. This is part of their ongoing effort to fight food insecurity. They've made donations to other area efforts to reduce food insecurity. And they usually make those donations at Halloween, but they felt this is an opportunity they had now, out of cycle, so to speak, to really tackle this. I just want to know why the fuck lunch debt is a thing. I mean, that's not a knock on Fear Factory. They did great. I'm looking at you, school district. Why the fuck is lunch debt a thing? Why are we not feeding kids?
That's a nationwide problem.
I know it is, but it's like I'm very happy for Fear Factory that they're able to do this and get a little publicity out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. This is a good example of how you integrate yourself to the community and how you ensure your long-term survival. But and also just a good thing to do in general. But Jesus Christ, lunch debt does not sound like something the local haunted house should be paying off.
No.
These are kids.
Yeah, and there's a lot of food insecurity in the world.
Yeah.
And studies have shown that whenever kids are hungry, they don't do well in school.
Which is the biggest no shit moment I can think.
Exactly.
Yeah, how good are you at fucking work when you're hungry?
Not.
Neither
I'm
am
not
I.
pleasant to be around in general.
No one is. No one of these
Exactly.
kids are acting up and having trouble focusing and shit. If they're hungry, that's a perfectly valid excuse.
Yeah. So if you need to, I know people don't like raising taxes, but if it provides free lunches for kids, I'm willing to pay a little bit more. Even though I don't have kids.
I have never shot down a millage or voted no on a millage in our city where the money would go to helping kids.
Yeah.
And that includes after
Directly.
school directly. Yeah. There's one to fund after school programs. There was one included food.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons I voted for it, was because these are after school programs. They're designed, I think, to run from like 4 to 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they provide food.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. You know what?
That
Take
means
the extra $40 a year that cost me. Go for it.
That means that kids who have parents who work late are getting 2 meals a day, not just one. And yeah.
And I remember during the start of the pandemic when the schools had to shut down and everyone went to remote learning, one of the big challenges was how do we feed these fucking kids for whom, I mean, technically, if those programs, depending on, I don't know if these schools here have school breakfast, but they could theoretically eat 3 meals a day.
Yeah, exactly.
At school. And you know what? I mean, you know what? I don't care. I'd rather them eat than not eat.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care what it is.
No.
You want to eat a box of cornflakes, you eat a box of cornflakes. But eat. For the love of God, no kid should be hungry, and it makes me sad that Fear Factory had to do this.
Yeah.
Fear Factory, muy bueno, very good.
Yes.
But the district, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Seriously. Moving on.
All right. So there were several articles about halfway to Halloween openings at haunted houses, but this one was the University of Florida opened Halloween in April.
Yeah, it's just a
So
random event too. They weren't even necessarily targeting halfway to Halloween, from what I can see.
yeah, their campus group named the Swamp Hunters hosted. The Swamp Hunters,
Yeah,
sorry.
no, still great
And,
group name, by the way.
yeah.
All in on that.
But
Very good.
their haunt was titled Crimson Carnival, had an abandoned carnival theme with a vampire twist. The photos looked pretty cool.
Mhm.
It was a really short walkthrough, 90 seconds, but they said that that's typical for the area, so I know which area I'm not going to if that's true.
Yeah.
I'm
Great. I mean, okay,
just
but fair
saying.
enough. No, I think they might have a point because we've been told that the HHN haunts are roughly
Yeah.
that length a lot of times, the individual haunts at HHN.
Well, and honestly, it depends on,
Yeah,
what
we've
the
had people
price
that I
is
swear to
too.
fucking shit just teleported to the other side because
Yeah.
there was no way they were in our haunt that long. A
Yeah.
little bit of time and got all the way through the walk.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but they had 36 people operating the haunt, so that's a lot of actors for like a short period of time.
yeah, you can get a 90-second walkthrough on our haunt, our 625 square feet.
Yeah.
So anyway,
But it was completed with $5,000 from the Department of Mechanical Aerospace Engineering and $5,000 in donated materials.
these are kids after my heart, man.
Yeah,
Running a small haunted house with scrap money you can get laying around.
exactly.
Dude, that's the story of my haunt experience.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I realized I forgot to mark up one of the stories.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right. You want to just skip it and come back?
Sure.
We'll come back to it next week. Anyways, our final story this week is actually 4 stories in one. And it deals with the Hotel of Terror in Springfield, Missouri. So yeah. If you've been listening to the news episodes for a while, this is not the first time you've heard that name. They have been in what can only be politely described as a pitched battle against their own city council.
Yes.
Basically, the city council there wants to take the land that it sits upon, because it apparently is right along the river,
Mm-hmm.
and they're wanting to do park and open space near the river beautification.
Right.
Fine, perfectly reasonable. They've been negotiating for apparently years on price,
Mm-hmm.
and they've just remained very far apart on price. And in fact, the owner of the haunt, Sterling Mathis, says that basically the amount they're offering is not enough for us to move our stuff out, secure another place, and reopen.
Yeah.
And you know what? That shit's expensive. I don't actually doubt that.
Yeah, and one of the things that he's been struggling to get across to the city is that part of a haunted house is its walls
Yeah.
and the stuff that's built into the walls.
Yeah.
It's not just the props and things.
Yeah. It's not like you can just go in with a truck on moving day,
Yeah.
clean out everything, and then that's your haunt. You just move it to a new place. No, it's like you said, it is the stuff in the walls,
Mm-hmm.
and that includes everything you can think of in a haunt.
Yeah. Exactly.
It includes pretty much everything from the electrics to the sound design to any special effects. They're probably
Mhm.
coming from, you know what I mean? So yeah, you can't just take the paintings off the wall and call it a day.
No.
So yeah, anyways, the city decided to move to an eminent domain, the property, and that's where the city can force the owner to sell at a price determined by a third party.
Mm-hmm.
So they moved to do that, but Mathis and others, I'm assuming with Hotel of Terror, used a provision in the charter, which meant if they could get the signatures from 10% of the registered voters in the city, then either the eminent domain would be canceled or would be put to a full vote.
Right.
They collected enough signature. They thought they had once, got told no, had more time, beat the deadline by seemingly just hours,
Mm-hmm.
but got it.
Yeah.
They actually got the signatures they needed. And so that brings us to where we are now.
Well-
Go ahead.
Well, there's a little bit in between
Okay.
where we are now, because on April 17th, it was reported that vandals had spray painted the sides of the building.
Okay, that's actually the next step.
Oh, no.
Okay, because basically they got the signatures and it was going to be put to either a vote or they're going to cancel it. Okay, so that was a positive development. They seem to have at least stayed. But then, like you said, on April 17th, vandals basically, it sounds like they tagged a wall.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like it was a super intense vandalism.
Mm-hmm.
but it was a vandalism and a very oddly timed one. It's unclear if this had anything to do with the eminent domain fight, but police have no leads, and it just sucks that in addition to this goddamn eminent domain stuff, they have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And then came on May 5th, the big drop that we have right now
Yeah.
is that the Hotel of Terror, if they do the election route, if they go the route, and here's the thing, we don't have the conclusion to the story.
No.
Because that meeting is happening as we are recording.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. We actually held off the recording in hopes that maybe we would hear something. We have not. So, sorry. Gamble didn't pay off. But regardless, the meeting is going on literally as we're speaking. The city council has to decide which of those two paths are taking. But there's a problem. If they go the election route, it's been revealed it will cost $250,000.
Uh-huh.
And whether they have it on August 8th or push it back into November, either way, it's an off election. And this would be the only thing on the ballot.
Yeah, you can ask us about how often we have to vote and how many people show up for it.
We had our sixth election, or sixth voting day, I should say,
Yeah.
not election, but sixth voting day this year, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
I think it was
I
2 weeks
think
ago.
so. Well,
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it was April 30th, so yeah, 2 weeks ago. It's crazy how often we vote. We've literally in Louisiana, in this area, we've legitimately gone to the polls 6 times,
mm-hmm.
and we're just now in May.
Yeah.
That should make you go, what? Yeah, what? I agree. So yeah, it would be a very costly vote.
Yeah, and the thing is, whenever you have that many elections and you have, like, you notice whenever it's like the 5th or 6th election of the year, they try to sneak things onto there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they tried to sneak a tax increase
They did.
onto our last one. They tried to raise a not insignificant amount for the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
Different from the New Orleans Police Department.
Yeah, those are two very different things. The Sheriff's Department here runs the courts, the jail, that type of stuff. They do process service. And they are law enforcement, but they're not the primary police, you would say,
Yeah.
that you think of when you think of New
Yeah.
Orleans police. But regardless, yeah. But here's the thing. I'm remembering the tolls.
Oh, yeah.
Because, okay, the recap, or cap, I guess in this case, it's not really a recap.
Yeah.
Basically, many, many, many years ago, there was a toll on the bridge from where we live on the West Bank side of the river to the East Bank, like that's where the French Quarter, the Central Business District, Garden District. We're the only New Orleans neighborhood on this side of the river, Algiers. And so if you wanted to get anywhere else in New Orleans, you had to pay this toll. Toll was not much money. It was $1 if you didn't have a toll tag and 40 cents if you did.
Yeah.
So it was never about the money for us.
And it was put into place to pay for the original construction of the bridge.
Yeah, because it used to be just one bridge.
Yeah.
And then they built a second bridge so they could basically double the lanes.
Mm-hmm.
And that second bridge was funded through tolls and that. And that bridge is now paid off. We own the bridge. I do not have a bridge to sell you anymore.
Yes.
So that bridge is paid off. But they wanted to continue the tolls past the date that they'd promised it would end.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was never about money. It was about the traffic snarls, the inconvenience, and how much it delayed getting over there. And it caused a lot of fucking problems.
Yeah.
The first time they voted on it was during a November big election, a presidential election.
Yeah, it was presidential election, so everybody showed up.
Everybody and their brother was there. Very, very high voter turnout. New Orleans tends to be a city with pretty high voter turnout of registered voters. We have low registration, but high voter turnout among those who are registered. It's my understanding, at least. And yeah, very high turnout. The vote on the tolls was so goddamn close. And this is a shit you not moment that the election was invalidated.
Yeah.
Because they're able to prove enough people didn't get the proper ballot when they should have. And basically, they could not determine the winner of the election.
Yeah.
It was like separated by 10 votes.
Exactly.
And this is after 500,000 people voted.
Yeah, I was thinking it was less than 10 votes.
And
like
I think
you
about the
said,
single digits,
and
It's
like
half a
half a
million
million.
people. It's literally the closest election I've ever been any part of at all.
Yeah, it was crazy pants.
It was crazy close. And so they said we'll have to have a redo on some random all shit motherfucking hell in January, I think it was.
Yeah.
And here's the thing with those elections, only the people that care about that topic show up.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people that cared about the tolls wanted the tolls to fucking go.
Yeah.
And so it went from damn near perfect 50-50 to it was like 70-30 or 80-20 or something. It was like ass whooping.
Yeah.
Straight fire ass whooping to get rid of the tolls. And now there's no toll. So, yeah, if they hold a special election on the Hotel of Terror, only the people that really care about the Hotel of Terror are showing up. And I'm pretty sure the people that care about the Hotel of Terror want to stay.
Yeah.
So this seems like a losing gambit to me.
Like, you've got the signatures already.
Yeah.
Those people are going to show up.
They will actually probably show up. So, yeah. I mean, I don't see... I would say the likelihood of them winning the vote, eminent domain vote, slim to none. So my hope is that when I get off this recording, I pull up and we'll find out that they decided to just end the process and continue negotiations. Because they did say that negotiations would be ongoing. Because, like I said, the owner's not being hopelessly unreasonable. It's just a dispute over the amount that they're going to sell the property for.
Yeah.
They're perfectly willing to get out of the way of the progress.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they need money to fucking move. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think that's everything for right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at time.
We're at time. We had a few extra stories just in case, but Hotel of Terror, man, y'all have had a hell of a month.
Yeah. No kidding.
Rooting for you, and I think you have the upper hand now pretty significantly,
Yeah.
I'd say. And I did not know this, but as I was reading the articles related to this, not only has this never happened in Springfield, it's never happened in the whole of the state of Missouri.
Wow.
You know, the state with like St. Louis in it.
Yeah.
It's never happened. So this is crazy.
Well, and the other question is if they don't have 250,000 to do this election,
yeah.
How are they going to build this giant green space? All you're doing is you're just going to tear it down and let nature claim it. That's really what you're doing.
Yeah, honestly, I think that you would think $250,000 would be not significant to this particular project from how big they're talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they were already offering $550,000 to pay, to buy the property, and I'm pretty sure the third party, ombudsman or whatever that would come in an eminent domain situation would rate it higher. Because I mean, I don't think Mathis is like pulling this out of his ass randomly,
Yeah.
So yeah, the story is wild. We'll tell you next week. We'll briefly dip into it, let you know what the outcome of the city council vote was. The vote was, but I'm thinking that they're just going to abandon this because this isn't going to work. Yeah. You're going to lose that election. And Mathis even said that if they take it to a popular vote, he's never fucking leaving.
Yeah.
Everything shuts down. All the negotiations, all the cooperation goes bye-bye. So that doesn't seem like a winning strategy, City of Springfield.
It does not.
I will wager right now that if it goes to a popular vote, you're screwed. But on that note, everyone, thank you very much for joining us this week. Greatly appreciate it. Come check out more Haunt Weekly. HauntWeekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, and YouTube.com/Haunt Weekly. Find us at all the places we are. Pay special attention to the Facebook. We will be doing live shows soon. We've been keep meaning them and keep having to push them back, but we will be doing one shortly. But until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And we will see you all next week. Maybe we'll be grading your human backstories this time. It could be fun, right?
Yeah.
See y'all next week.